Hi.
Hi, Mama.
Wow. How are you, my little girl?
I'm good. How are you?
I am wonderful. And the fashion police came and
Oh,
they confiscated all my Golden Girl shirts.
what's
So
no rhinestones?
I'm wearing yes, I'm in my dashiki kind of shirt that my mother bought me. So
That's
there we
good.
go. But now I have to move back in. I got caught on the rug. So it's 7 o'clock, and you know what time it is.
Yes, I do.
Time. Well, it's so good to see you, baby girl. And we already have some of our regulars. We have Chris Cuddy. How are you,
Hi,
Christopher?
Chris and Mickey.
And Mickey Patrides. How are you, Mickey? Thanks, guys, for tuning in.
Up and Glorious here.
Oh, Gloria. Gloria, thanks for sending all that good information my way. I
And
appreciate
Lucille.
Lucille, our OG of Right Stuff. Lucille's with us tonight. Well, wow, we're starting off the night with a bang. This is great. And what a night we have for everybody. Tonight's show is titled MAGA Wars because of sneaky. Mickey's doing fine. We're glad to hear that. Well, it's titled MAGA Wars because sneaky Joe Biden gave a speech in Philadelphia using his presidential podium with two Marines standing at attention in the background. It was kind of dark and he was invoking the love of our nation and our birthplace, and he used that opportunity to do what?
I think I saw that.
Oh, you think so? Well, we're going to see a lot of it tonight. And we're going to see, as in the Right Stuff fashion, we're going to show the hypocrisy of what Joe Biden's speech said and what actually happened where the Democrats stood by and watched. But before we do that, we have our Fauci Award for Gullible People. So last week, Jen talked about whippets or Ready Whip. What was it, Jen?
Oh no, the Ready Whip. Yeah,
Ready Whip.
not Whippets.
Well, here's our Fauci Award winner tonight.
Whipped cream, if you're not whipping it yourself, comes in a can. And as of November of last year, to purchase a spray can of whipped cream in the state of New York requires the buyer to show an ID, proving they're 21 or older.
I love this bill.
State Senator Joseph Adabo sponsored this bill after receiving a series of complaints from his constituents.
They were seeing these canisters, like 25 or so, in the street.
Those canisters appeared to originate from within whipped cream bottles.
These teenagers, mostly younger, 13, 14, popping them and sucking out the nitrous oxide for a quick high.
So-called whippets, full of the same laughing gas used by dentists, allow those inhaling them to get high.
Since this bill has become a law earlier this year, we have gotten less complaints, actually no complaints from our constituents.
While Adabo's Senate District 15 may no longer see as many exhausted whippets in the streets, few among the rest of us, who may or may not look 21, seem to remember getting carded for whipped cream in the last year or know of this law's existence.
Never heard of such a thing.
No, I was completely unaware of that.
Did not know that.
We will follow up on this law throughout the year to make sure it's enforced correctly.
Adabo said he wanted more enforcement and would accept tips about stores in the state not asking for ID from customers buying canned whipped cream. Neither Whole Foods, nor Trader Joe's, nor Wegmans, nor Tops Markets responded to emails asking if their cashiers carded New York customers buying cans of whipped cream in time for this story to make air.
Because that's what people are worried about.
So
Stupid enough, it doesn't even matter anymore.
only in New York, we've got people killing people in the subways and the streets. But Senator Joe Abadamo is worried about canned whipped cream.
Can you imagine? There's security guards on stopping people shoplifting, spam, and all that crap. But they're going to card you if you're buying whipped cream.
And he wants tips from people who can buy the whipped cream without being carded. He wants to go after those
people will go to jail. Why are you in?
Yeah.
Rape,
Well,
sodomy. Oh, I bought whipped cream when I was 19.
Never heard of such stupid stuff. Okay, well, we have a quick honorable mention. I wasn't going to show this one, but I have to. It goes to Karine Jean-Pierre, White House press secretary, for this blunder. Watch this.
As you know, the good news is in August, the economy created 315,000 jobs, which is important. We have created nearly 10,000 million jobs since President Biden took office, which is the fastest job growth in history. So you're asking me, where's the success? Here it is. Wait.
Did she say 10,000 million?
No other president in the history of America has ever created 10,000 million jobs before.
Better than our tens of viewers.
10,000 million jobs. And they also keep letting the drugs come through the border, and they're worried about the whipped cream. That's right, Lorraine. And that is exactly why they got the Fauci Award for gullible people, because Lucille, idiot. Oh, Chris Getty, 10,000 million, comic horror math at its best.
She must be on the ready whip.
Clearly, DC has not banned Ready Whip yet.
Our president's rubbing off on her.
Oh my God, I can't. Oh, well, this is prior to sneaky Joe Biden giving his address in Philadelphia, one of our own, Brooklyn's Hakeem Jeffries, went on the air on his media tour, and he talked about, he called Trump a so-called president. Watch this.
I think Democratic candidates should be talking about Donald Trump and his legacy. Should they be talking about what happened at Mar-a-Lago, where there's a new development every day from the Justice Department? Is that an important part of the conversation, or should they purely look forward?
I think it's always important to lean into the issues, which we have and will continue to do, lowering costs, better paying jobs, safer communities, but also to draw a contrast with what the extreme MAGA Republicans represent, which is values that are inconsistent with the American people, and point out that you have a Republican Party that has been radicalized by the former twice impeached, out of control, so-called 45th president of the United States of America.
At least he knows his numbers. 45,000th millionth.
10,000 million. Get it straight. So-called president. Okay, so you see the trend, folks. It's silly season. We're leading up to the midterms, and this is the narrative they are selling now. They're selling this narrative to the public that Republicans have become dangerous, have become the Trump Republicans are cultish, and they are dangerous, and they are worried to the nation. This on the heels of Joe Biden adding 87,000 new IRS agents and the FBI raiding Mar-a-Lago. So get ready, because here it comes. And it all starts with this speech from Joe Biden, sneaky Joe Biden in Philadelphia on Thursday. If you didn't see it, you're going to be pissed. My blood boils.
Too much of what's happening in our country today is not normal. Donald Trump and the MAGA Republicans represent an extremism that threatens the very foundations of our republic. Now, I want to be very clear up front. Not every Republican, not even the majority of Republicans, are MAGA Republicans. Not every Republican embraces their extreme ideology. I know, because I've been able to work with these mainstream Republicans. But there's no question that the Republican Party today is dominated, driven, and intimidated by Donald Trump and the MAGA Republicans. And that is a threat to this country. But I'm an American president, not a president of red America, blue America, but of all America. And I believe it's my duty to level with you, to tell the truth, no matter how difficult, no matter how painful. And here, in my view, is what is true. MAGA Republicans do not respect the Constitution. They do not believe in the rule of law. They do not recognize the will of the people. MAGA forces are determined to take this country backwards to an America where there is no right to choose, no right to privacy, no right to contraception, no right to marry who you love. They promote authoritarian leaders and they fan the flames of political violence.
Value the law. We can't even walk out on the streets.
Yeah, but we don't value the Constitution. We don't follow the law. How about that? He in that speech, he torched 75 million Americans. Yeah, Christopher, what a dope is right. He used, you take a look at that setup, right? That podium, that beautiful setting with the two Marines in the background. And you say he's going to deliver a great speech. And you want to know the interesting thing?
That he didn't stutter or fall asleep.
24 minutes, and it was probably the best delivery I've ever heard from him because he was trashing Republicans. Well, his poll numbers plummeted. The overnights, it went even lower than before. And then guess what happened the next day, Jen?
Tens of thousands of millions of people. What?
He walked back that entire speech. He walked it back and said he didn't say it. So watch what happened when Peter Doocy caught him at another press conference and asked him this.
Mr. President, do you consider all Trump supporters to be a threat to the country?
You cannot make that case. I don't consider any Trump supporter to be a threat to the country. I do think anyone who calls for the use of violence fails to condemn violence when it's used, refuses to acknowledge when an election has been won, insists upon changing the way in which the rules you count votes. That is a threat to democracy. Democracy. Everything we stand for rests on the platform of democracy. When people voted for Donald Trump and support him now, they weren't voting for attacking the Capitol. They weren't voting for overruling an election. They were voting for a philosophy he put forward.
My plant would be a better president. Craig. Well, Craig's having a little issue. He has herpes now. You got to come outside. But
oh no, Fred!
Right, not Fred.
He would be a better president. All right.
Would be a better president.
Mama's weighed in. You ladies look lovely. Thank you, Mom.
Thank you, Grandma.
I'm wearing the shirt you bought me, Mom. Lucille. He simply forgot what he was told to say. That's true because he answered off the cuff and they didn't want him to answer, Lucille. But I mean, could you imagine? And mainstream media they just glossed over it. The applause, as he trashed 75 million Americans who cast their vote in earnest and believed that they were going to get an honest and fair election. And he just trashed us all. Hey, look who's there.
Hi,
Jody Wasserman. Hey, Jody. Mr. Bean would make a better president. Oh, Mr. Bean, Jen. You love Mr. Bean.
I remember him.
Well, it wouldn't be right stuff if we didn't point out the hypocrisy of that speech and showed you, what was really happening that the Democrats actually overlooked during the 2020 election cycle. So this is a little long, but have a look.
I believe America is at an inflection point. One of those moments that determine the shape of everything that's to come after. And now, America must choose to move forward or to move backwards.
Will protesters topple a statue of Christopher Columbus in Baltimore? Cheers could be heard as the statue cracked and fell to the ground. Then they drug it to the harbor. This demonstration comes during a nationwide call to remove Confederate monuments and statues of other controversial historical figures.
To be a nation of hope and unity and optimism, or a nation of fear, division, and of darkness.
How do we get out of this mess? Revolution, nothing less.
MAGA Republicans have made their choice. They embrace anger. They thrive on chaos.
The fabric of America is fraying. A nation on edge. After days of discord, physical confrontations, raging flames, and no resolution. This is how erratic it's become.
They live not in the light of truth, but in the shadow of lies.
I want to be clear in how I characterize this. This is mostly a protest. It is not, generally speaking, unruly.
But together we can choose a different path. We can choose a better path forward to the future. A future of possibility, a future to build and dream and hope.
We are less than 3 months before the midterms, and our brand new NBC News poll paints a pretty bleak picture. Americans are angry, they're disappointed, and they are worried about the future of this country. Just 21% of adults say we are headed in the right direction, and once again, 3 out of 4 Americans say we are on the wrong track. In fact, this number, never before in our poll, has this wrong track number been over 70% for this long. It's been nearly a year now.
I know this nation. I know you, the American people. I know your courage. I know your hearts. And I know our history. This is a nation that honors our Constitution. We do not reject it. This is a nation that believes in the rule of law. We do not repudiate it.
I said indict, convict, send that killer cop to jail. The whole damn system is guilty.
This is a nation that respects free and fair elections. We honor the will of the people. We do not deny it.
But do you think that there was deliberate interference in the election?
Yes, there was a deliberate and intentional disinvestment and I think destruction of the administration of elections in the state of Georgia.
And this is a nation that rejects violence as a political tool.
And please, show me where it says that protests are supposed to be polite and peaceful.
We need to reject people like him.
Well, that side by side got a lot of commentary. Grandma Joe said, please someone ring the Liberty Bell.
Yeah.
I think someone is. His name is Donald Trump. Jody Wasserman, it's all bullshit. Gloria. If you don't agree with their agenda, you are a MAGA Republican. Well, I'm a MAGA. Lol. So am I. Just, Mom, you don't even know who you are. Jody Wasserman, smuck. Schmuck. Let me do it right. Schmuck.
Schmuck.
So, it's silly season. This is, they're trying to change or create a narrative that we are dangerous people and that we should be feared and they want us to quiet down.
Yeah.
And you wonder why, right, Jen? I mean, because Biden, 85 million votes, right? The most votes in the history of the United States. 10,000
million.
10,000 million. So why in the world is he fearing Donald Trump? Why in the world wouldn't he welcome Donald Trump to run against him? He beat him once, right?
Yeah. Beat him.
beat him. But how come it was okay that Stacey Abrams challenged her, that said that the election in Georgia was rigged and there was voter suppression? Why was it okay for her to say it, but not for the patriots that were there on January 6th?
Because their voice is heard everywhere, and they don't want people to conform to them, and they want to have the cattle of sheep, the herd of sheep, within their range.
So this is the messaging, and I don't know how the Democrats think that this is the right message to, I think they truly believe they don't get us. They don't get Republicans at all. Because I think that the Dems in Washington, are no different than the Republicans in Washington. They're all part of the swamp. So they're used to the Mitch McConnells and the people that are going to cave, to the pressure of the press. But at any rate, this is. Well, DeSantis had something to say about Biden and what he said, so I'm going to play that clip.
Overnight polling must have been really bad for Biden's big fascism speech, given the whiplash he gave everybody today. What was your initial reaction when you first heard what he said?
Well, I thought it was one of the most disgusting speeches an American president has ever given. He ran as being a unifier, and he's basically saying to the vast majority of the country that disapproves of him that they're effectively a threat to the republic. He is the American Nero. He's a failed leader, and I think that he is doing this because he's trying to energize his base to fend off a real butt whipping this November.
Governor, to what do you attribute the flip-flopping here? Is this senility or is this self-preservation because he saw the polling on this speech and the reaction?
Look, it's been said that the president of the United States is whoever is feeding his teleprompter. And so they fed that teleprompter in Philadelphia last night, and he angrily delivered that speech and lashed out at his fellow countrymen. Today, he was asked off the cuff, and he said something totally opposite. And then I think you look at the way he's weaponized federal agencies, it all plays into this idea of him mobilizing government against people he doesn't like. And he has done that time and time again, and I think he's going to continue to do it. And if Republicans do take control, they need to hold them accountable, because I think it's likely to get worse if he loses in the midterms.
Of course, it's okay for us to have protests, burning down buildings, smashing windows, smashing cops for somebody who was convicted. Was he a felon?
Yeah.
That's okay, but you can't have a peaceful protest for your president and for thinking that the country is over there stealing elections, stealing votes.
The hypocrisy is ridiculous, and I guess why I like to keep bringing it up and why we keep doing this show week after week is to pull all these clips together side by side so you can easily see the hypocrisy in the messaging, and also to understand because listen, most of us are busy trying to make a buck and living our lives and wondering whether or not we're going to be able to stretch the dollar, and so we don't always understand the messaging that's taking place, especially to the Democrats. And if you notice, most all the clips that we show you here on Right Stuff are from CNN and MSNBC, CBS, ABC. They're mainstream media, because I want our viewers to see what is being said on these mainstream media channels. And when you pull it all together, they're playing us for fools.
Oh, 100%.
They want us to believe. I mean, how can they, well, I'm going to play some clips of Trump next, because he was at a rally in Pennsylvania right after the president spoke in Philadelphia, and they called Trump's speech hateful, but they didn't call Biden's speech hateful. I mean, 75 million, he said that MAGA Republicans have no respect for democracy, and that's not hateful. 75 million people just, screw you, you're no good. And we're going to get those 87,000 IRS agents after you. It scares me. It scares me that Karine Jean-Pierre can't do math, and Biden can't do math, and so that 87,000 could easily multiply into 10,000 million IRS agents who are going to be picking apart our taxes. But let's hear what 45 had to say. The so-called 45th president, according to Hakeem Jeffries. Let's hear what he had to say about Biden's speech.
He's an enemy of the state. You want to know the truth? The enemy of the state is him and the group that control him, which is circling around him. Do this, do that, Joe. You're going to do this, Joe, right? The Biden administration invaded the home of their chief political opponent, who is absolutely destroying him and everyone else in the polls. I hate to say it. But our opponents have badly miscalculated. This egregious abuse of the law is going to produce a backlash, the likes of which nobody has ever seen before. The FBI and the Justice Department have become vicious monsters, controlled by radical left scoundrels, lawyers, and the media who tell them what to do, you people right there, and when to do it. They're trying to silence me, and more importantly, they are trying to silence you, but we will not be silenced, right?
I can't wait till he runs again.
Right? You feel so empowered when he speaks. I love it when he points out there the media.
Amazing.
And that's what we talked about last week, right? With the Mar-a-Lago raid, that the FBI actually stated, I saw a report on this news channel, I saw a report on that news channel, and therefore I want, I want a search warrant for them to the residents. But did you hear today that a federal judge granted Trump, he asked for more information to be released about why they raided his house, and she actually smacked the hand of the FBI because they took his personal medical records and his tax records, and this was supposed to be a surgical, grab of files that they were just looking for top secret.
No, they were looking for stuff to put against him when he runs again next year. Next year, wasn't it 2 years? Oh God, how long do we have?
I wish it was next year. It's 2 more years. Yeah. But they went in and they, in their haste, instead of sitting with lawyers and saying, no, look, this is medical, this is personal, finance, whatever, especially when Congress right now are looking through his tax returns. They went in there and they grabbed those records, and that's
what they want.
Yeah, exactly. That's what they want. But we're supposed to trust them, right? We're supposed to trust that they know what they're doing. And the judge also said that she's not sure that executive privilege doesn't play in here, which means that since he was the president, he was able to take the files with him. So I don't know. Josephine says, I feel safe when he speaks. Yeah, Trump, that is. Yes, we figured.
Yeah, because he's not shitting his pants when he talks to you.
And he's not reading a teleprompter either. I feel safe when he speaks too, because he's confident in what he says. But if you noticed, the CNN was saying that it was hateful speech. So Joe Biden, not hateful speech. Donald Trump, hateful speech.
Do you have the clip of Biden when he called someone an idiot in the same speech that he gave? Somebody questioned him. That's what I caught on the tail end of the news today on Channel 11.
You mean in the Philadelphia speech?
I think so. Well, when we watch the next one, I'll look.
If you have it, we could share the screen, I guess.
Good luck with that.
Yeah, that's true. That would involve technology. So guests on Face the Nation were discussing the atmosphere of fear on Capitol Hill. Now that Trump spoke at the rally, and they're furthering the narrative. So listen to this. Listen to them talk about the poor people on Capitol Hill and in D.C.
There is a symmetry to what's been said publicly and on social media platforms and chat groups after the search at Mar-a-Lago and what they saw and what they heard January 4th, January 5th, 2021. Talk of civil war, talk of delegitimizing federal law enforcement or federal institutions. And one of the most unequivocal warnings has been coming from D.C. federal judges who are handling the January 6 cases. They warned in the past week of the prospect of another January 6 in 2025.
When I'm on Capitol Hill, that is the point of alarm among some of my top sources. What happens in January 2025 after the next presidential election? And it's up to Congress to decide how this is all certified. And if there are disputes in the states, let's say a state court says one thing, a governor says another, and a legislature says another. How will Congress handle that? And there isn't a clear roadmap at this point.
Scott, related to the conversation we just had, you're on Capitol Hill every day. Is the atmosphere there still as tense as it was after January 6th? Are members and staff still on edge about the prospect of violence or their own personal safety?
Yes, and note the increased security some members of Congress have had to take or get because of the talk in recent weeks and recent months and threats against their lives. I'll say something else. The defendants in court from January 6th, when it's time to go ask for leniency, go to sentencing, plead for the mercy of the court, are still so muted at their criticism of Donald Trump and in some cases still denying the integrity of the 2020 election. The judges and some of the people involved will say that's why they're so concerned about more violence. Even defendants on their day of reckoning are still critical.
How's that? Even on their day of reckoning, they're still saying that the election was rigged. What does that tell you?
Yep.
It tells you that that MAGA Republicans have the strength of their conviction. They're willing to go to jail rather than flip and say, oh, we agree with you, that we're going to allow you to brainwash us. I mean, it is 1984 all over again when the resistance is all they did was try to beat you down until you agreed with their point. And God bless those patriots. I mean, we've said it here before. I'll say it again. I think it was stupid and foolish for people in the heat of the moment to enter the Capitol.
Oh, it was a dog and pony show.
It was terrible. It was silly. It shouldn't have happened. They didn't need to go inside the Capitol to make their point. The rally was to have Congress, open up an investigation about the election. So I don't agree with those people that entered, even those people that entered peacefully and walked through the red velvet ropes. But to say that the people in Congress are fearful for their lives because of the MAGA Republicans, you know what? Why isn't the press saying we ought to peel back this onion and find out if this election was true and fair and honest?
They don't want to know. They don't want to know. I'm fearful for my life when I leave the house. Live in New York City. I mean, you can't go out anymore. People just walking up to you and bashing you in the head. But I live in fear.
Yeah.
Total fear. And they don't get locked up because we have liberals as judges and as DAs, and they're just letting everybody out with prior convictions with no problem.
But once again, to your point, Jen, that's exactly what the messaging is. Your life, Jen Remauro, my life, regular citizens' lives don't matter. It didn't matter when the woke BLMers were out in the street breaking things, smashing things, beating people up, setting cars on fire, dragging people out of cars, killing people. That was okay that we were living day in and day out in fear, locked in our house, not able, fearful of going out. It's okay that you're afraid to go in the subway. It's okay that we can't wear our jewelry out in public. Too bad for you, because you're just the peons. But The people on Capitol Hill.
A few hours of mayhem, and they're holding on to it forever. Meanwhile, we're going through this for 2 years now of hell in this country. You can't even go from Italy. You can't go through customs as an American without being interrogated and asked a million questions and repeatedly to see if you're lying. But you could just cross the border with no problem, no questions asked, and then come and get free money. So this is how the country is run.
Our tax dollars are going to support people who are doing illegal things
Mm-hmm.
by just walking across the border without, papers. It's illegal. They're bringing fentanyl into this country, killing our kids.
Sex trafficking.
Good point.
Disease.
Disease. That's right. No masks, no vaccinations, none of that. But the working class people, the law-abiding citizens, they have to be, they're on their own. But the super elite, the swamp, we should all feel bad for them. And as you said, they're milking this January 6th because they seem to think that they're onto something. They seem to think that if you're truly patriotic, then you shouldn't question anything in your country. And that is exactly opposite of what our Constitution is about. Our Constitution specifically allows us to question our government. That's why this country was founded, because a group of people rose up against King George and said, you're not going to rule us because you have no idea who we are, how we live. And now all of a sudden they are changing the narrative. If you are someone who exercises your free speech or questions whether or not the swamp is too involved in your daily life, you're no good. But if you're woke and you believe that, a man can give birth and you don't know how to define a woman, then you're allowed to protest.
Well, look at the constitutional rights don't exist anymore because they find loopholes to take them away. Just like in New York State, when they passed the right to carry concealed weapons, what did Hochul do? And Adams and all the New York State lawmakers from the left passed laws where now you can't go into Times Square, you can't go into restaurants, you can't go into the subway, the most dangerous place in New York City. You can't go onto most streets with a licensed concealed weapon. It's a felony if you get caught. So your
Even
constitution,
if you're a corrections officer,
doesn't matter. No. If you're on the job, you can.
Only a cop. But retired cops and retired correction officers
you will get a felony. That's what they're giving you. But you can have a gang rape and be out on the streets the next day, and everything's fine. And like I always say, when you outlaw guns, the only people that have guns are outlaws. And not one of these people, or I'm going to say maybe 5% tops in the country of people that carry a concealed weapon with a license commit the crimes. These people are criminals.
Absolutely.
They don't get their guns, at the gun shop. They don't put in for a license. They get them off the streets. They're ghost guns. And that's exactly what's happening. So look how fast, within hours, Hochul turned it around to take away the constitutional right that was granted, which should have never been questioned in the first place.
Well, and somebody should sue her for that. Gloria is injecting a little comedy. When are we going on a bus trip to Mexico? I could use a free phone and money.
To Mexico, they'll behead you.
I'd rather you had it.
You can't go into Mexico illegally. When we had the houses there, when I was married, I couldn't even get a 20% discount for having a house there. They wouldn't give it to me.
Yep.
They wouldn't give it to me.
That's it. America bad. Take everything you can from America. Your grandmother wants to know where the shot is for this disease. Yeah, the disease of insanity. The world has gone crazy, and we're allowing it to go crazy. And I just hope that everybody heard that last part of the statement, that the people that have been arrested and sitting in jail all this time, who said that they wanted the truth about the election, refuse to cave. They're doing a Braveheart, right? They are refusing to cave. They're not going to flip their position. They're not going to, cry mercy from the court, because they believe that an egregious error was made or an egregious act was committed in an election, and they want an investigation into it. The question is will we ever, as a nation, when what they are trying to do, right? The swamp is trying to do is to criminalize them and to put a scarlet letter on them, to cancel them, those people, and say, don't be like them, because if you're like them, then you're bad, and we won't, you're not going to be able to get a job, you're not going to be able to do this, you're not going to be able to do that, and you can't live in our world, because our world are for rational Republicans, not MAGA Republicans. But Stacey Abrams, still to this day, will say that the 2018 gubernatorial election was rigged, and she won the election. She will still tell you to this day that she is governor. But that's okay. She's allowed to say that. But she's still, a good American citizen. All right. So, so DC and Congress are fearful. Guess who else is fearful, Jen?
Who?
The FBI agents. Let's listen to former FBI agent Mudd discuss the fact that watch.
Yes.
People who are in the service have to go down home to a spouse or a girlfriend or a family, including children, and say, we're going into a midterm election cycle where there are election deniers who will listen to the president. And maybe more significantly, into a 2024 election cycle when it's conceivable, obviously, that you would have once again President Biden versus President Trump. If you have public information, for example, information about your address, your home address, information on social media, and you're an FBI agent, what would you think, Jim? I can tell you, in contrast to the days when I was in the FBI and the CIA chasing ISIS and Al-Qaeda, and let me close with this, I would be more concerned about going to my home residence today than I was when I was in the papers with stories about chasing Al-Qaeda and ISIS. More and more candidates, and you would have thought this was sort of bizarre 5-6 years ago, more and more candidates will be elected to Congress who say that elections were stolen. Those members will be able to question the FBI. They will have their microphones amplified on places like Twitter because they might be members of Congress. And if you go into an election in 2024 that's tightly contested, they will be able to support those, like the January 6 people who might say that election was stolen. I'm typically a glass half full guy. I'm like a glass 3/4 empty guy right now. More Americans are saying we're robbed and they're angry. I'm not too optimistic, Jim.
Is this something that national security officials should be concerned about?
Oh, absolutely. And the FBI has clearly stated that both the sort of the violent stream of this movement is the most dangerous threat to law enforcement and to the American society and election workers and others.
Ridiculous.
But we forget that Justice Kavanaugh had a bunch of pro-abortion lunatics protesting outside of his house, and one guy actually showed up to kill him, and they arrested him. They had to usher him out of the back door of a restaurant because it got so out of hand. And how about Justice Coney Barrett, whose kids names were released and their schools by pro-abortion people who wanted to kill babies at 9 months gestation.
Kill people, yeah.
Yeah.
But they have no problem killing people.
Right. So, but they shouldn't, not one person. I don't recall the FBI, former FBI agents, anyone saying, oh, this isn't right, protesting out in front of Supreme Court justices' house, trying to intimidate them by using their children, by exposing who their children are. I mean, we're really, with all respect, and I respect law enforcement, Jen, you respect law enforcement, but you're telling me that it's okay to have a Supreme Court justice life threatened and her children's names and school exposed and we should all just gloss over that. But an FBI agent trained in killing and carrying a gun and whose job includes all of this stuff, we're going to go, oh, we're going to, clutch our pearls because they're fearful that the MAGA Republicans are going to come after the FBI. Yes, somebody did try to do damage to an FBI office. I think it was Maryland. And it was wrong. But the FBI is afraid now. What does that tell you about our nation? When a former FBI agent is willing to go on national television and say that he's more afraid of MAGA Republicans than he is about ISIS.
He's it starts with a P.
I mean, really. Margie says, people on Staten Island blackballed Red Storm. Why is that? Because you're a MAGA Republican, Margie? I'm going to guess that's why. They will say anything to keep woke in power. Gloria, you're absolutely right. That's the whole goal here. The goal is to divide us. If you divide us, you conquer us. Okay, well, so while they're spewing, the Dems are trying to divide us with fear and hate yeah, Margie said that's why.
That's what I was looking for. I was looking for the judge. What's her name? One second. Salas. Esther Salas. Her son was killed in the house.
That's right. That was a couple of years ago. Yeah.
New Jersey. He was murdered in the house.
That's right. So the FBI is fearful, but attack on judges, not a big problem. The fear mongering, January 6th, bad MAGA Republicans, dangerous, anti-patriotic MAGA Republicans. That's one narrative. The other narrative to keep Donald Trump from running for office in 2024. So I guess John Bolton didn't get the memo that the federal judge thinks that Trump had executive powers, because he went on CBS and listen to what he had to say.
Several examples in the inventory of magazines, newspapers mixed in with records that are marked classified. What do you make of the commingling of these records?
Well, I think there's no doubt Trump liked to get newspaper clippings about himself and other interesting things. They tended to go on the famous pile on the side of the Resolute desk. I was never exactly sure what he did with them, but it doesn't surprise me that you might have a layer of newspaper clippings followed by a layer of government documents followed by a layer of classified documents. That was the kind of chaotic administration that I think we all became pretty used to.
Let's take that a step further. What are the national security implications of the commingling of these records?
Well, to the extent that the newspaper clippings were treated like most people in this country would treat newspaper clippings, it shows a real disdain for the seriousness of the classification at issue. In most offices, you would have a very clear segregation of the sensitive classified material locked in safes, handled very carefully, versus all the unclassified material. This, to me, is more evidence that Donald Trump didn't give much attention to the sensitivity of the classified information.
And I want you to help us decode that FBI evidence photo. We can see folders marked secret and top secret lying on then President Trump's office floor. What do you make of that?
Well, first, I think it was a good thing for the Justice Department to put that photo out there. I think it reflects that they're willing to do something they don't normally do in a criminal investigation, is try and explain some of the background of what's happening.
They were with his newspaper clippings, please.
Well, how about it's a good idea for the Justice Department to release photos during a criminal investigation. Really? Now, that was the National Security Advisor. He was a former National Security Advisor. So he was out there on the spinmobile, trying to set it up that Trump is a criminal for taking documents out of Mar-a-Lago.
I'm sure he had cameras in his home when they raided it. Everywhere.
Oh yeah. Oh, absolutely.
I'm waiting for them to come out.
Well, he also had his lawyers there But the FBI told the lawyers stand in the corner. So the lawyers were not allowed to see what they were taking. But again, as I said earlier, they took his medical files, they took his tax papers. So those things are personal documents from the President of the United States.
And how do we know that they didn't walk in with those documents?
Well, that's what the Bolton was saying. Putting that picture out there, showing them all over the floor, shows that they were implanted. Oh, really? I mean, listen. We need to know what was in those documents, right? And once again, he was the President of the United States. Most of that crap is in his brain. What are we going to do? Lobotomize every president after they leave office to protect national security?
Well, we did it to our president now, so obviously.
Well, that lobotomy happened ahead of time. They'll never have to worry about any state secrets.
He doesn't even remember his name. We're good. We're all safe.
And clearly, it's trickling down to his staff because there's 10,000 million jobs that were created.
Yeah, he created them. It's not because they're empty, because he gave all of these checks and free freaking welfare and free all this money, and unemployment tripled. It's, you know, no one wanted to go back to work. You didn't create the jobs because everyone closed down.
Right, exactly.
The jobs are vacant jobs. People
still can't get people to go back to work.
No.
I mean, because Sunday we went to eat at a little diner, and the line was like out the door, and we couldn't understand what was going on. And we went inside, and the place was a third full. Only 2/3 of the place was empty, but people were waiting for a table. And when we spoke to the hostess, she said, "Oh, we have to wait for the kitchen to catch up with the orders." That means you don't have staff in the kitchen.
Yeah, because they're also waiting tables.
Yeah, we have problems. Well, I thought it would be fun to hear from another FBI agent that was doing an investigation during an election cycle, and the response that CNN commentators had to this investigation. I hope everybody remember this. What?
There is evidence that they were extremely careless in their handling of very sensitive, highly classified information. I also discovered several thousand work-related emails that were not among the group of 30,000 emails returned by Secretary Clinton to state in 2014. And the lawyers then cleaned their devices in such a way as to preclude complete forensic recovery.
New York Times story this morning about when she was Secretary of State, she never had a government account. She exclusively communicated using a personal email account. And now the question is, have all these records been preserved and protected? Let me get the official statements on the record here. Jen Psaki, the State Department spokeswoman, says last year the department sent a letter to representatives of former secretaries of state requesting they submit any records in their possession for proper preservation. In response to our request, Secretary Clinton provided the department emails spanning her time at the department. The department is in the process, and so on and so forth. There's your bureaucracy. Like secretaries before her. So this is a problem across the government.
This is not just a 2016 question. We're going to put it in that context. But this is a question for the White House. The White House has repeatedly said, we are the most transparent administration in history. They said when they came in the door, we're going to do things differently than previous administrations. This is something that they have said over and over and over again. This just does not fit in with that narrative.
And this is a national security issue. China has read all the Secretary of State's emails. There's a long pattern of the Clintons having a sense of righteousness, a sense of entitlement, that we're doing the right thing. So don't question us.
First off, let me tell you something. It's such bullshit. They raided Rudy Giuliani's, the 18 devices were taken, which he unlocked for the FBI when they seized everything. And it's over a year and a half later, and they still, has anything come out of that?
No. And it's
so they learned their lesson. Now they're looking for paper. They're like, oh, you know what? We couldn't do electronics because we can't plant old emails, but let's go in with paper and we can just drop it on the floor. Bring it in your coat and then drop. Oh, look, it's on the floor. They learn. At least they learn the next step when you can't catch somebody.
Did you see an indictment of Hillary Clinton anywhere? The reason that I loved that little clip was, did you hear CNN? That was back when CNN was an actual news organization. They were going after Hillary Clinton, as they should. They were an actual news organization. Now they, try and coddle her, and any other woke dem they'll try and coddle. But did they indict Hillary Clinton? Did Hillary Clinton? What came of that whole investigation? So let's remember that as we watch what they tried to do to Donald Trump. Because we had the same exact words being used, right? National security. You had Bolton before saying Trump was careless. You had Comey saying Hillary was careless. You had Bolton saying national security. You had Comey. You had the CNN crew saying national security. So, and it's a lot easier to hijack emails than it is actual paper off the desk of a president that was mixed in with a folder with news clips. A lot easier to do that. All right. Well, our final clip is the big question: whether or not the DOJ continues their investigation of Donald Trump while we're in an election cycle. So this comes from MSNBC. Watch.
Top Justice Department officials facing major questions as November approaches, whether to temporarily scale back work in criminal investigations involving former President Trump. According to new reporting in the New York Times, the DOJ is worried about the so-called 60-day rule. It's an unwritten rule in which the department tries to avoid taking action in the lead up to elections to avoid the possibility of influencing democracy. Trump, of course, is not on the ballot this year, but he is still the most significant member of the Republican Party, endorsed most of their Senate candidates, and it's unclear whether the 60-day rule applies to a high-profile political figure who is not technically a candidate in the coming election. This Thursday marks 60 days from the midterms. What's your assessment? What would be the appropriate course of action here from the DOJ?
DOJ will have to consider the purpose of the rule, which is to avoid interfering in elections, to avoid influencing elections in any way. I think that there's an awfully good argument to be made that Trump simply doesn't fall within the ambit of this rule because he's not on the ballot in this campaign.
Did you expect a different answer?
No.
Well, the narrative goes on. So that's all of our clips for our show, ladies and gentlemen. But before we sign off, I wanted to let you know that we are now on Truth Social. And so it's called Right Stuff. It's our own page there. So I will be posting little news stories there as well. Please go there. Please follow us. And also, we recognize that Facebook is shadow banning us. And now we're in a 10,000 millionth place in the rating.
I was hoping that would happen.
So I'm going to ask our audience, our tens and tens of viewers, to be good enough when you see Right Stuff live Facebook come up, please share it everywhere that you can. And let's see if we can't break this algorithm, because right now they're shadow banning us terribly. I'll get thousands of hits on our page for just commentary, but every time we put up the Right Stuff, in 2 days we got 59 impressions, which is nothing.
And it was your mother and your husband.
My mother, Dad, Lucille, Margie, Loretta, Lorraine, Jody. It's our regular Chris, our regular crew. But so help us try and get around the Facebook algorithm. When you see the show come up, share it to your page, share it to other pages or other groups that you might belong to, MAGA Republicans. And if you can't catch us live on Facebook, You can always watch the replay on Rumble, which is my preferred
It's
place.
free, people. Just go sign up already.
Yeah.
28 people signed up. What is your problem?
Right. Give us a rumble if you like what you hear. If you, I mean, obviously our regulars are here, so we appreciate you. But we want to try and break down the media bias, and we want to continue to expose hypocrisy wherever it lives. Gloria sent you a notice from AAA that you can renew license with them. Yes, I saw it, Gloria. I actually responded. I'm slow to respond on my personal page, unfortunately, but I'll do better, I promise.
Oh, it's
and here's our baby brother. Hey, beautiful ladies. Hey, Tony Herbert.
Hi.
Well, it was a good show, Jen. As always, you look beautiful. I'm so proud of you. And even if we only had one viewer, I'm proud to do this show with you because I get to see you once a week.
I know. Maybe you should come home.
Oh,
again.
No. I'm still in South Carolina. And guess where I'm going on Friday? I'm going to the Tim Scott rally in Horry County with the Horry County Women's Republican Club. And I volunteered. Tim Scott is a great senator from South Carolina. Thank you, Gloria. And I just got his book. You should all read his book. It's fantastic. And I'm bringing my book and I'm going to get it signed. And I'm volunteering with the group to make sure that Tim Scott gets reelected.
Maybe you'll run for something down there.
No, I'm not running for anything. I'm done with running. I like doing this. Oh, thank you, Amy. Thank you, Amy. You gotta send over some pictures of your beautiful grandbaby. Yeah, no running now. I'm just going to comment on the hypocrisy from the woke swamp. Da, 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 da. All right, guys. And if you have any clips for the Fauci Award for Gullible People, please send them my way. Jen, any last words?
Nope.
Right.
I'm going to rest my ear infection.
Go rest your ear infection. Love you, darling.
Love you. Bye.
Love you guys too. Bye-bye.